Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged, USDA prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Hell, even their Angus beef burgers and their Wagyu burgers. They're prime, by the way, folks. They're the best you'll probably ever have. Wait till you see their ribeyes. The fillets, the New Yorks, they're all the best, folks. Listen, this is live. We screw up all the time, so get over it. I'm over it, so you should be over it too, if you know what I mean. Nonetheless, this is for UppercutChops.com. Check them out on your mobile device, UppercutChops.com, or on your old school desktop computer at home, or hell, give them a call at 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com. 702-799-9935. Again, that's our friends over at UppercutChops.com. All right. See how many times I could say UppercutChops.com in one 1 minute stretch. That's kind of funny. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Big hello to our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA, all the way over to Atlanta WDJY. Thanks for waking up with us, driving home with us, whatever the hell you're doing. Guess what? You're here on the Sports Circus, also on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Wow Cable TV, as well as hotel television in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast, gaining over 4 million impressions per hour. That's crazy. And guess what? We have a special guest, and we're going to go ahead and let him introduce himself. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sal, thanks for having me. It's Matt Joyce, in with you live and in flesh. So I like the intro where you said you're a ringmaster for the Sports Circus. So let's get to it, man.
You know what? Hey, Matt, thanks for coming on to the show today. And, here's a bit of irony without time stamping, right? We want to keep it kind of that way. But exactly 3 years ago on this particular date, you were on this program for a particular team. We were talking about your particular playoff run with a particular baseball team, and it was pretty cool. And I remember you were in kind of a hurry. You gave us about, maybe 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. But now look, today you're all suit and tied. You're in a different uniform today. And I kind of like this look, man. This is a pretty snappy look.
Yeah, that's a little something we say in the show. You look good, you feel good, you play good. So it's always better to be overdressed than underdressed. It's obviously trying to figure out my way post baseball career. So I still want to stay around the game. I still love the game. Still want to talk about the game. So you got to figure out a way to do that. And we've had some conversations in the past about some opportunities and some strategies, and here we are today. So talk a little shop and try to stay around the game.
Hey, that's good stuff. And so, by the way, and recently, look, you could get out there and play today, and there are teams that certainly could use your services. Your clutch hitting, right? You got to have those kind of things available on a regular basis, because let's face it, here's something that this guy knows how to do. That's right. He knows how to take the ball over the wall, but he can also throw some leather too. And so I want to talk a little bit about today. We talk about hitting strategy, right? We'll get into business stuff, but I want to talk about hitting strategy and analytics, because I believe, in my opinion, just in the viewing audience, I don't pitch a baseball anymore. I haven't done it in 30 flipping years. It's been a minute, right? But I look at today's use of analytics maybe a little bit different than some people do. What are your thoughts on the use, under, or overuse of analytics in baseball?
Yeah, analytics is huge in the game today. It's really prevalent. A lot of decisions are made around the analytics and the numbers. I mean, baseball has always been a very statistical heavy game. But nowadays, it's only getting more and more dominant in the analytical side. Obviously, due to all the technology that's based around the game, that's telling them, how fast the pitcher is pitching, how much their spin rate is on the ball. I remember when I was playing, and Madden and the front office wouldn't let me play because they told me your swing plane doesn't match the ball flight of this pitcher, and I was like, I'm hitting 3-something. Like, what are you talking about right now? I'm hot. This doesn't make any sense to me. So, it can get a little too much for me. It can get a little overwhelming. Analytics, I think, is great to have a lot of information to make better decisions. You know, obviously with business, being a business owner myself, I want to have as much information as possible to be able to take and make better decisions. But at the same time, I do feel like it's hurting the game, especially players similar to me where you're a left-handed hitter and obviously more of a pull dominant hitter. You know, the shift really impacting, you know, a really strong pull left-handed hitter. You know, it's and I still remember going back to Joe Madden playing with the Rays. The big thing was Big Poppy. We wanted Big Poppy to bunt or try to hit the ball the other way to completely change his swing. And that was a really important strategy in the game in trying to beat the Red Sox, because here you have this guy that's hit, you know, is going to be a Hall of Famer, 500 home runs, and can change the entire game with one swing of the bat. And so if you can influence his thoughts and say, well, maybe I should bunt here, or maybe I should try to hit the ball the other way, it's not that easy to do. You know, these guys are throwing 97, 91 mile-an-hour sliders. And it really even affected me, where it's like, okay, I kind of have to adjust to what they're doing to me. So for me, I think the analytics is both sides. I think it's positive in helping GMs and managers make decisions, but at the same time, I think it's hurting the game, because you, as a player, and even more so as a fan, you want to see more action, right? I want to see more action. I don't want to see a bunch of strikeouts. Obviously, everybody wants to see home runs and high-scoring games.
Not if you're a pitcher.
Yeah. Well, they want to see their home team win. But you know, maybe it's just because I was impacted it by it more than most. But I didn't feel like it was fair. You know, for a left-handed hitter, you could shift the entire defense, and then a right-handed hitter, you couldn't stick, you know, second baseman out in deep left field like you can do with a third baseman for the left-handed hitter, right? And so that completely changes the game just because you hit left-handed, right? So it's been an interesting dynamic, and obviously adding the analytics further to the game. So I don't know where it goes. I'm kind of hoping that they regulate it to some capacity. But man, for me, like you can't kill the game with the analytics.
You know, Matt, it seems to me like there is so much emphasis put on the number side of it that I believe that some people, look, either you can hit the ball or you can't hit the ball, right? And they say, you know, swing your way out of a slump or whatever it was. You know, go back in the days when there was rabbit ears on televisions, right? Before you were born, if you know what I mean, right? But ultimately, you still got to hit the damn ball. The ball's going to be in the hitting zone for a certain amount of time. And frankly, I look at this from the pitching side and I say, look, you can uppercut all you want. In fact, I'll invite you to make sure that bat stays in that hitting zone a little bit less, because I know you're going to, if you do make contact, there's only a certain amount of area, right? So we take the flat plane, here's home plate, right? And then we've got an uppercut angle, and there's a spot right here where that ball can hit the bat. That's it. But if you have a level swing, buddy, that bat stays in the strike zone a hell of a lot longer. I would rather you swing up. And yeah, if you hit it right, you're going to take it out of the yard. But at the end of the day, chances are you're not going to. The numbers prove that. You're going to pop the ball up, or you're going to beat it 99 hopper into third base or something like that, or into first base from the left side. But the fact is, even a guy like Miguel Cabrera, I listened to an interview with him a couple of years ago talking about how he changed his swing, and he was able to adapt, but his numbers haven't followed suit as he had projected they would. And I think that the uppercut actually is hurting, and the analytics are sort of hurting a guy like him, that he's just a natural born hitter. You know what I mean?
So I think that's twofold. I think you're spot on. I think with the analytics, going back to analytics, you know, for me, in the conversations that I had with the pitching coaches from each team, and looking at all the numbers and looking at like everything that they take into consideration, is like they know what you hit, what you can't hit, more importantly, and where you hit it, right? And so for me, it was like, okay, well, we know if we throw him this pitch and in this count, then he's going to have this result, you know, 80% of the time, right? And so that's where the numbers and analytics take over, where it's like, okay, you know, the game is completely changed nowadays. You look at 3-1, 3-2 counts. Before it was like, hey, challenge the guy, you know, like no freebies, don't let him walk. Now it's like, no, I'd rather either strike him out or walk him then lay one in there and give him a chance to hit it out of the park.
You know, here's an interesting thing. Hold that thought. We're coming up to break here in just a moment. But recently, there was a no-hitter taken into 2 outs into the 9th inning by a particular pitcher. It was by Dylan Cease. And I'm watching this guy. Man, he is dealing all game. And he's playing against the Minnesota Twins. And here you're facing the league-leading hitter in the American League in Arise. Thank God I got him on my fantasy baseball team. But the reality is this. You got a guy that you know is one of the best contact hitters in the league. And you got to pitch around this guy. You can't give this guy anything to hit. You're better off facing somebody that's a little bit lesser and talented in the batter's box. And what does he do? He serves up a slider and the ball gets drilled into the alley. And there goes the no-hitter with 2 outs in the 9th inning. But my point is, the numbers there, I agree, they certainly could have helped. And when we come back, I want a little bit more from you on that. But I want to dive into some of the things that you're working on as well. Look, we could do baseball for weeks. So I'll tell you what, folks, we're going to be back here with 15-year baseball player, all-star. That would be Matt Joyce. He's been in the rodeo for a minute. And guess what? We're going to be back in just a few minutes right here on the Sports Circus. Don't go nowhere.
So, you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Hey, this is Josie Scott from Josie Scott Saliva, and you're listening to the Sports Circus with Sal Tuzzolino.
to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning. Maybe someone punched you in the mouth and you need a lawyer. Contact Legal Shield. They may be able to help. 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. 213-245-1305, or check them out online at nocourt.us. That's nocourt.us. You may need that attorney, or email them at info@nocourt.us. All right, big round of applause for our friends over at Legal Shield, and a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Of course, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees, home of the San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome into everybody also in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. Over in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, home of the world champion Atlanta Braves. They still are at this point. And a whole bunch of other affiliates from Texas to California. Our friends over in NBC Newsland and CNBC Financial, thanks for joining us if you're listening to us there. And everywhere else on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Wow Cable TV, even Charter as well as Hotel TV. Back here with 15-year Major League outfielder, clutch hitter, all-star, and that would be Mr. Matt Joyce. Of course, Matt, thanks for coming back with us. In the last segment, it was a little bit about uppercutting and whatnot. I want to kind of finish this one up so we kind of put a bow on it. And I know you have something to say about the uppercut swing and the analytics, etc.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to it too. So obviously, besides the analytics that are involved, for me, it really, I always try to take into consideration who was pitching, right? So if I had a sinker baller, we were talking about a knuckleballer on the break. If I had a knuckleballer, if there was a ball that was breaking down, I'm trying to manipulate my swing to uppercut, to work underneath the ball so I can get the ball in the air. And vice versa, like on the other side, if I have a guy like Garrett Cole who's throwing that four-seam fastball whose ball is really riding. I mean, if you're standing in the box, this ball looks, granted, like, hey, we all know mathematically it can't ride. It looks like it's rising when it's coming into home plate. And so for me, in that one, I'm almost like trying to swing down. I'm trying to stay above the ball. I'm trying to keep my barrel up and work above the baseball. And so, for me, I was constantly trying to manipulate my swing depending on what the pitcher's ball was doing. That's why it was so important to understand what the pitcher had and do your homework and how he was trying to get you out, right? Like have that analytics that we talked about, have that information to prepare your approach going into that bat. I don't think there's a one swing that fits all, right? Like there's no hey, if you swing this way, you're going to hit like Babe Ruth. Like it just doesn't happen. I think everybody's swing is a little bit unique to them. I do think there are foundational principles of putting your body in really good hitting positions. But as far as hey, uppercutting, I think it's more dangerous to try to teach these kids how to uppercut nowadays than it ever was before, because people are throwing harder. They know how to throw a four seam. They know how to make the ball ride. And if you're working underneath that ball, you have no chance of hitting it. So for me, I'd rather always let me work on top of the ball, do the high tee, and then it becomes much easier to work down into the zone, right? Like if the ball is down. So that's kind of how I thought it. I don't know what you see or what your thoughts were, but that's kind of how it worked for me.
Well, Matt, as a pitcher in Little League, we'll say, right? I mean, look, the last time I played any kind of ball that was worthwhile at that level was many, many, many years ago. But think about guys like Walter Riniak, right? You're basically swinging almost down, like what you're saying. But at the end of the day, you're keeping that bat in the hitting zone for a longer period. And the goal was just to put the ball in play. It wasn't trying to put the ball up in the air or whatever. Chances are you're going to hopefully hit a line drive, right? Hopefully that's going to be the case. And you're going to pop it over the infielder's head. I mean, any home runs or whatever, that's just purely a bonus. But at the end of the day, if you put the ball in play, well, guess what? You could get on base. Sure, you could strike out and possibly get on base. But at least you put some pressure on the defense to perform, right? And we've seen a lot of that in the last 3 years. We've seen a lot of errors. And I think a lot of fundamentals. I want to mention this real quick. When I think about certain teams, like my beloved White Sox, I live and die with my White Sox, excuse me, and it's just a team that is loaded with talent, but they don't play fundamental baseball. They don't know how to field the ball. They don't know how to throw the ball properly from base to base, hit the cutoff guys, whatever. The St. Louis Cardinals are really good at that year in and year out. Those guys are trained right. The Minnesota Twins are trained right. There are certain teams that do it. My beloved White Sox do not play fundamental ball. And when I hear them talking all these analytics, well, how about doing the basic things first? Let's see if you could throw the ball from point A to point B properly. Let's see if you could swing a bat or move a runner over. I want you to talk about moving runners over from the days of maybe when you started when the bunt was still really in play, when there's no bunt really in play for the most part anymore. I want you to go there real quick.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to unpack. I think fundamentals is huge, right? The best teams to ever play any sport really were dominant and very consistent in the fundamentals. And for me, fundamentals always went back to what's your daily habit and routines, right? Are you working consistently daily on the proper fundamentals that you should be having, whether it be on the offensive side or the defensive side? And those are just, I wouldn't say mindless tasks because you do have to lock in and focus on them. But it's like, all right, this is what I have to do. This is my routine. I'm gonna shag my fly balls. And you see it a lot as outfielders kind of get a little bit older. Like, I don't really want to shag balls, but like it was so important for me to see the balls off the bat and get the read. Still the same thing with the offense. Go through the feeling of like, all right, where's my swing at today? Where's my body? What do I have to work with? What am I feeling? And so like every day was what's my habits, my routines to put me in proper positions and make sure my fundamentals are there. When I go play the game, I don't have to worry about them.
What about the idea of fundamentals in the head psychologically? What happens in the locker room that could basically spoil the environment? Let's say you're on a team loaded with talent, and there are those teams out there year in and year out. They're stacked up. They have every position seemingly covered, but they have bad chemistry in the locker room. And you think about the fundamentals psychologically. How does that work with, out of the different teams that you've played with, you've played for a handful of teams. Some without singling any of them out, of course. You've been around players that are good in the locker room and cancer in the clubhouse, right?
Totally.
How does the effect of the cancer in the clubhouse transfer from player to player to on the field to disaster on the field and in the long run for a season?
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head with cancer. It becomes a cancer. A lot of it for me goes back to attitude, right? Having the right attitude, and that for me goes back to perspective. Do you have a good perspective? Do you want to be here, right? Like, and a lot of people, when you go through the season, after the first month, it becomes a grind, right? Like your body hurts, like you have to do the same thing over and over and over every single day, and it becomes very monotonous, and it's work. It's a job, right? Like everybody thinks it's the dream, the ultimate dream, which it is, but at the same time, it becomes work. And so, some guys just might struggle a little bit and then they get negative. And then obviously that's going to affect the other players in the team, as opposed to like, hey, if everybody's pulling in the same direction, you're picking each other up. Hey, I saw this. I thought you pulled off the ball a little bit here. Make sure you just stay on the ball. That for me was, as I got older, was one of the most important traits that I wanted to, bring to the table, because you learn a lot as you get older, and you feel like you can help the other players out.
What about this? Okay, let's in our last couple of minutes of the segment here, think about when you were a kid going to watch the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, right? You're watching the Rays as a kid, and you want the big offensive outputs and whatnot, but you think about what's going on with the players. Well, how come this one seems to be hanging his head in the outfield and all this other stuff, and he seems to be flat-footed out there, and you're an observant grade school, high school ball player at this point in your life, right? And you're thinking, well, what the heck is going on out there? What kind of training did they have? Who knows? There may be a budding business idea out there to train these kids with their mindset, because that's a big deal. A lot of people don't know what's going on that are at the games, watching the games, but you as a player and those kids could get a better understanding of positioning people's brains into thinking, hey, look, this is really where we ought to be at this particular juncture in this particular game. And are your heads in it? Is there a business? Is there a plan out there? Is there something, Matt, that you could maybe offer the world in 30 seconds? We'll come back with it. An idea of how to train these people mentally.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything stems with a thought. And going back to the Del Rey's days, I was a kid, right? I was a kid with my dad, so I might have been more focused on the Dippin' Dots and what flavor I wanted in the Dippin' Dots, and maybe seeing one of my favorite players, either Griffey or obviously Boggs was playing for them back then. But yeah, no, I mean, for me, I think everything always stems from the mental side. The motivation, how do you stay positive, right? Like, how do you have the right perspective, like we talked about, really good attitude. I think there is a business opportunity that we've had conversations about that, could really help players to maximize their athletic ability and give them their best chance to succeed and reach the higher levels, whether it be high school to college or college to getting drafted and playing pros. I think every player needs a coach, and I think every player really needs the mental side training.
Okay, tell you what, when we come back from break, I want to pick up on that with Matt Joyce, all-star outfielder, 15 years in the league. Don't go anywhere, folks. Lots more to come.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
My favorite one had to do with the Green Bay Packers. And I love the fact that they dealt off Ty Montgomery because of a blown assignment. Green Bay isn't Green Bay unless they have a good running game. Then they can win 10 Super Bowls. The fact is, you don't have a running game. You've got 70% passing, and that's not where Aaron Rodgers needs to be. He needs to be in a position where he's got a running game to offset the passing game and so forth. I like the move. Green Bay didn't have a running game anyway, so all they're doing is saying, we're going to get rid of you because you don't follow instructions.
Well, he made one of the most boneheaded plays I've ever seen. There's 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock. They traded him on Tuesday.
They should have cut him on Sunday night.
He shouldn't have been on the plane back to Green Bay.
Right, they should have made him walk back to Green Bay.
No, it was a terrible play. Now, he's not a stupid guy. He went to Stanford. Really? He's not a dumb guy.
He's not a dumb guy, but he doesn't follow instructions.
He made a terrible play.
The fact is he didn't follow instructions. And you say he's not a dumb guy. His own agenda he put ahead of his team.
I agree.
Thus, he is a dumb guy. Right or wrong?
Wrong. He just got selfish. You're not going to convince me that a guy from Stanford's a dum-dum.
No!
Yeah, this is Sidney Justin from The Miracles.
So you heard yesterday's show at Roy Firestone. Didn't you hear a little clip about him going into the office where Smokey was at? And that was really good material, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really funny, man.
Yeah, and then you heard him.
I thought it was hilarious. It was cool, though. It was cool. Really cool story, man. I enjoyed listening to that.
Right, and then he gave a couple of bars. Can you give us a couple of more from Ooh Baby Baby? And let's see if you could do it better than Roy Firestone. Come on, man!
All right, you know what? Why not? I did you wrong. My heart went out to play, but in the game I lost you. What a price to pay. Hey, I'm crying. Ooh, baby, baby. How's that, man?
That's
Is that okay? Is that good enough?
That's incredible.
That's fantastic.
You know why? Because that's what you do. You're in the incredible business, Sid. That's awesome. Yes. Only on the Sports Circus. You're going to get sports. You get music.
Hello, Jack McDowell here, Black Jack McDowell, and you're watching the Sports Circus, which is totally cool. So you have a great time watching. Have some fun.
to the Sports Circus with Matt Joyce, MLB All-Star, and Sal, my good buddy that brought me on. We're excited to have you back on, and we're having fun talking a little shop.
All right, that's good stuff. And a big welcome back to everybody also listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Hotel Television and Cox Comcast Spectrum Frontier Wild Cable Television, and everybody also streaming on Instagram, Facebook, and AmpTV, AAMP.tv. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow as well. This segment brought to you in part by Matt Joyce. He's here with us today, if you know what I mean. All right, that's good stuff, and we're going to find out what Matt's up to in just a little bit. So let's pick up where we left off in that last segment. Where do we leave off exactly? Do you know?
Yeah, we were talking about young athletes and the mental side of the game. I think there's a lot to it, right? Like for me, being an athlete, the question was always, how do I be the best athlete I can? How do I maximize my athletic ability? And I think a lot of it started with the mental side of the game. That was a big thing that I had to learn and overcome when I was going through the minor leagues. There was a specific point when I was in AA that I was really struggling, and I didn't know how to get out of it. And I was like laying in bed. I'm like, as a young athlete, you just want it so bad. So I was like crying myself to sleep because I'm like, man, this has to happen. I want this more than anything. And so when I started to really dive into the mental side of the things, I think it helped me turn the corner and obviously gave me the tools to continue to the big leagues and then continue my career throughout the big leagues.
So think about those mental struggles. And look, there are some real highs and some unfortunate lows in that path. To get past some of those lows, talk to me about practical jokes. Those are always fun. What did you do? What did you do with stuff? What did you do to keep your mind in a good place?
Yeah. I got a little more fun as I got older. I felt like I was more comfortable in my role and position. I felt like I was more of a leader. So I would be the DJ on the bus, and my name was DJ SS. And, everybody would ask me what DJ SS stood for. And I told them it depended on the day. Sometimes it was sweet swinging. Sometimes it was crappy swinging for better language purposes here. But, we would call up rookies up to the front of the bus. We would have them tell jokes. We would have them sing songs or just different
Can you
stuff,
sing? Do you sing?
Oh, I'm not a singer.
Oh, come on.
I do have another guy out there that is same name, Matt Joyce, that I've seen him sing a lot over the years. So that's not me, though. I don't have the best voice, unfortunately.
What's interesting is after I saw you when you were here in Vegas, it was the same day. I went bowling, as I said I was going to do, across the street from where we were. And then I got done and I went to the grocery store, went to one of those like a Trader Joe's or whatever the hell it was. That was Sprouts out here. It's one of those kind of stores. Anyway, so I go to the store and I walk in and I get the things that I'm getting and I get into the line. I'm like, everybody on TV can see, I'm looking up like, oh my God, this is a large human, very large human. And I said, all right. And mind you, my neck is hurting and I'm 6'1" and I'm looking up. I'm like, man, this is a big dude. I'm like, all right, so where'd you play ball? He goes, oh no, man, I'm a fighter. I'm like, really?
Oh, jeez.
His name though was Joe Joyce. Joyce. Yeah, Joe Joyce, and he's from the UK on top of it, right? So here I was with Matt Joyce earlier, and now I'm sitting there with Joe Joyce. I mean, how crazy was that? But this guy was just a mountain of a man, because you mentioned another Matt Joyce. Well, I just like, what are the odds of me actually talking to two different people with the same last name like that? I mean, it's just not common. It's not like it's Smith or Jones or something like that, or Williams or Brown or whatever. It was very strange, but this happened the same day. I just had to mention that.
Yeah, you have to pay me a lot of money to get in the ring and try to fight Joe Joyce. Okay, that's not my strong suit either.
That is a big dude. Do you know that guy? Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
He's like 6'7" and like 280, but he's lean. And he was buying all the right foods and everything, and he had just got over from the UK to right here to the fight capital of the world, which is Las Vegas. And this was one big dude. I would not want to fight that guy.
Maybe he's training at F-45.
Buddy, I don't know. I only know one guy like that. He works with me on the show. He's done this for about 5 years. His name is Bronco Billy Wright. And Billy's about 6'5", 360. And I mean, his hands were literally this big. And thank God he's a friend of mine. it's the last guy that I want to take a punch from.
Yeah, that's the kind of guys you want as friends, for sure, on your side.
I gotta tell you. All right, so completely sidetracked. Okay, so let me ask you this. Think about this whole mindset thing and this whole fitness thing. So it's mental fitness. It's a really big deal. Agree or disagree?
Sure, yeah, of course.
Now, what about you take that mental fitness with physical fitness? Now, you know something about physical fitness, right?
Yeah, of course, I do, yes. I have a few businesses that are surrounded around the Tampa Bay area. Those are F45s. Thank you for the plug there. So, but yeah, we have five F45s around the Tampa Bay area. We're building out our sixth. F45 was started in Australia. It quickly became the fastest growing fitness franchise in the world. It is a group training concept in which it just stands for functional 45 minutes. It's a 45-minute workout and based around low impact functional movements that are at a higher intensity, which is proven to be the best type of workout that you can do. Obviously, hey, if you want to live longer, you want to sleep better, lose weight, have more energy, all the things that we want, then F45 is a fantastic program that I really believed in, especially working with a lot of trainers throughout the years. I paid them over $1,000 a month, roughly. And so when I saw F45, I was like, this is exactly what we do with the trainers. And obviously, it's a lot cheaper than $1,000 a month. So.
Right. Okay. So, and that transition away from baseball. So you've been retired for just a little bit of time, and it's pretty difficult, generally speaking, to take somebody that's played as a job. It was a job. Your job was to play baseball, period. And then you jump out into a non-baseball world. Talk about the mental effect it had on you, leaving baseball full-time to your current ventures today.
Yeah, so I had a conversation with my wife, I want to say last week. It was like, babe, last year I was playing in front of 40,000 people and who knows how many people on TV. And this morning, I was fixing a toilet in the St. Pete gym where nobody cared, okay? Nobody gave a crap, literally, right? Like, throw that little punchline in there, nobody gave a crap, okay?
That was the token audience laughter, just in case, right?
It's a struggle. It's a challenge to obviously leave something that you've done your entire life. And you've worked at, right? Like, and that was the level, that was the standard. Hey, I want to get to the big leagues. I want to stay at the big leagues.
Recording in progress.
And it's a nonstop endeavor that you are constantly trying to master and perfect and stay at that level. And obviously, so a lot happened. The lockout happened. I think that affected a lot of free agents. A lot of guys went and played independent ball. I originally said yes to independent ball, and I just turned 38. Having a 5-year-old daughter and having 5 gyms, it was kind of like, this nagging kind of voice in my head. I was like, I don't have it in me to go back to that grind. And so, like, you have different priorities, right? You gotta take care of your family. And for me, it was like, okay, I always enjoyed business. I enjoyed fitness. I believe in the concept. I wanted to make a positive impact, especially in the Tampa Bay area. And obviously, as an athlete, like, your income stops, right? So you have to figure out, how am I going to make an income? How do I produce cash flow? So the F45 has kind of solved all of those problems for me. And it's been a good transition, but I can tell you I miss baseball. I miss being around athletes.
So do you find yourself going to any of the games just because?
So I've only been to, it's bad, 2 games this year, and then I actually went this last Saturday to watch the Yankees play the Rays. And the Rays, pulled it off 2-1. Judge hit a homer in the 9th, and I think the Yankees were on a drought there for a couple games where they didn't score any runs. So Judge is awesome. I've met him a few times. Just the nicest kid in the world. Really cool to see what he's been able to do this year. One of the best stories in baseball, chasing home run record, and obviously the Yankee legacy of those guys that have hit 60 homers, and Roger Maris and Mantle, and obviously the list goes on and on. How many great Yankees there were.
What a great time in our last minute here. What a great time to bet on yourself. And I always say this. If you believe in yourself, bet on yourself, right? Because then eventually what's going to happen?
Show me the money!
Right. That's what's going to happen. Because, look, this guy is the ultimate in that. What a great example. And I love the fact that Aaron said, look, I'm going to go out and do it. I'm going to show you what I'm worth today. You want to give some guy $440 million, he wants to turn it down, whatever. What am I going to be worth? Because I've actually done it. Because the other guy's hitting 245 with less than half the home runs and with a fraction of the runs driven in. And this guy, I mean, let's play it. You're wearing the pinstripes, folks. In fact, when we come back, I want to get your feedback a little bit on those Yankee pinstripes and what it means to the business world afterwards. So don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to be back here with 15-year outfielder in Major League Baseball and an all-star. That would be Matt Joyce. Back in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Can't beat fun at the old ballpark, friends. High pop fly. That would be a home run in a phone booth. I don't know what the big deal about Cracker Jack is. Did you ever go and buy a pack of Cracker Jack thinking you're going to get a prize and find no prize in the box? Here's the pitch. That might not sound important to some people, but when you're a little kid, especially from humble origin, and they cheat you out of a prize, there's a bouncing ball. Second baseman has a Barbary over to first. It's hard to think in laudatory terms of the product.
I think if there was an occasional box of Cracker Jacks that found no prizes for the little Harry Carey many years ago.
You got that right. And boy, when a box of Cracker Jack to me meant a lot of money. Here's a pitch, bounce foul. That's the most asinine marketing I've ever heard of. 1 ball, 1 strike. These guys say, well, you sing about Cracker Jack. I said that I only sing it because it's in the song. Here's a pitch foul back. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised, even to this day, some youngsters who buy a box of Cracker Jack don't find a prize in the box. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Well, if you're going to talk about our congressman being crooked, here's a pitch foul out of play. Why not talk about commercial products who don't do what they represent to do?
They told me when they hired me it was a temporary job. Born and raised in St. Louis, and you can imagine the Cardinals were my favorite team from the day I could remember. And all of a sudden, the miracle of life, I'm broadcasting Card games. I own the town and broadcast them for 25 years, and I thought they're going to give me a gold watch, and they gave me a pink slip. Then I went out to work for Charlie Finley for a year, and that's par for the course. Came to Chicago, and I was with the White Sox 11 years, and now with the Cubs. Never missed a game, never missed a time at bat, never missed a half inning that I was supposed to do. You know, Chicago is such a marvelous city. Hey, we got some Chicago people. You know, you never succeed in this business until you've had the experience of working with a terrible hangover. Not until you've been able to come through with flying colors under those circumstances can you consider yourself a professional. Lord knows, I've had more than my share of hangovers.
There's a drive, way back. It might be, it could be, and it is. Holy cow! This crowd is wild.
You're watching the Sports Circus, and I am Brian Erlacher.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. Also on all of our other social media, including Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, I think we're out there too. We're out there everywhere. I don't know. We don't really keep track of that so much, but guess what? There is somebody that does it for us, I suppose. But make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. Also, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are podcasts. They can be found on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon, you name it, we're there. And also welcome back to everybody else, even on the Mars rover. Back here with 15-year veteran, outfielder, all-star, that would be recently retired Matt Joyce. And Matt, of course, thanks for staying on the entire time and keeping you away from your family for dinner. Unfortunately, tell the wife it's my fault.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. She had to run her mom to the airport, so it worked out pretty well. But yeah, recently retired and 38, and I'm watching Pujols, 42 years old, tear it up in the league, and I'm like, man, I don't know. Can I do it another year? This guy is the ultimate machine. So it's been cool and fun to watch him. I mean, obviously played with him in 2015, so to watch him on a daily basis really gives you an appreciation for just how good he is.
That guy's is just incredible. And the funny thing about this, actually, it's not really so funny, is you look at his mad output in St. Louis. Crazy output. I mean, this guy was on pace to kill everybody in every stat, seemingly, right?
Yeah, that's not a small ballpark, by the way.
Right. Right, but here's the point. My point is, as soon as Artie signed him to the big deal over there, for whatever reason, it's almost like the wheels fell off in Anaheim. And this isn't the first time that a player goes over there and doesn't perform as well as they're expected to. There's something in the water there. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was my worst season. That was my worst year. I don't know if it was the same for those guys, but I can tell you from me, personally, they had one cage, to get ready to hit. So you have, 20-something guys, but realistically only 9 are starting, right? So, you had a handful of guys that are kind of fighting for the cage before the game. But, for me, there was nothing to get you up to game speed, right? And so, nowadays, these guys are throwing 97, 95, 97 consistently. And so, to go to bat from batting practice where they're just laying it in there to 97 with 91-mile-an-hour slider, it's not that easy. You can't just go from batting practice to that. For me, it was I had to get up to game speed, shorten up my swing a little bit, right? Tighten it up, right? The last little tighten up, in order to be consistent in the game and to be able to square up the ball consistently in the game. So I think that was something that really hurt me. I also it was my free agent year, and I went to a bigger bat, tried to hit more home runs. So I don't recommend trying to do that. So yeah, it's weird. I don't know if they're just cursed or there's something to the one cage, and they need more technology, they need more cages to really get their hitters ready for the game. But that was the case for me.
You know what? I can attribute it to from the outside looking in. And there was a recent discussion right here in Las Vegas from one of the players that recently departed here, and he was a loved player. His name was Max Pacioretty. So Max was a very important part of the Vegas Golden Knights NHL club. And he said when he played previously in Montreal, which is, wow, you want to talk about being in the spotlight. That's like wearing Yankee pinstripes, and we'll get to that in a second. The idea of the pressure of playing in a pressure-packed environment, like Aaron, like we had talked about. When you put on those Yankee pinstripes, it's a very special thing, right? When you put on that Montreal Canadiens sweater, it's a special thing. But when you go to a place where there's not a big spotlight, so Max comes over to Vegas where everyone's like, oh, he had a bad game, no big deal. He had a bad week, no big deal. Everyone seems to be on vacation here anyway. And I talked to a few guys that I know that played in Anaheim, and they told me that they didn't perform very well for much the same reason. There seemed to be no sense of urgency, and it sort of worked as a detriment. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I don't know if that was more like a laid-back pally feel and the environment. Sure, I definitely felt it was a little bit more laid-back being over there. Yeah, I think there's some part of that, and I think you have to have a guy that leads that charge, right? Trout's one of my favorite players and one of the best players, he's probably going to go down as one of the best players as long as he stays healthy and to ever play the game. But he's not really the guy that's going to let's go, let's gotta win. he's like, hey, I'm going to do what I got to do and show up and be one of the best players ever. And he's very humble. And so I don't know if they needed that fire lit under them. And maybe it's a combination. Maybe it's a combination of like, hey, maybe they need to put their players in a better position to have some more success in the field. And there needs to be like a fire lit that's like, let's go, and consistently. But Cali's more laid back. So,
well, think about this. Think about this. The management that's been in place in Anaheim, even when you were playing, may not have been the best choice. And I'm being as gentle as possible about this. But we think about the leadership from the management side. Sometimes the management doesn't create the sense of urgency. It doesn't matter what team you're on because, look, at some point there's a manager involved. And then we have a general manager and player development and all that other crap. But if it's not right from the top, at least from the players' interaction perspective, then how the hell are you supposed to have a leader for that club in the first place? With all that talent in Anaheim, they're loaded with talent, but they just can't put it together. And it's not just 1 year. Look, Mike Trout has been injured for about 16% of his career. That's a lot of losses of him on the field. It's a lot of loss of productivity.
Yep. Yeah, Sosha was there when I was playing. And Sosha was great, very laid back in spring training. And then, players kind of felt like everything tightened up. When the season started and things were on the line. I think I like Sosha. I think he was there a little bit too long. For whatever reason, they didn't want to cut the cord. But I think he was there just a little bit too long, and they needed to change. Obviously, they brought in Joe and some different options now, so we'll kind of see what happens with that. I'm surprised that Joe didn't stick around and have a better impact. I know his ability to come into a new team and a new franchise and really have a spark and just kind of help turn things around. So I was a little surprised how things transpired there. But again, it's usually not just one thing. It's usually a combination of things, right? And I think there's multiple underlying factors that are causing their struggles.
Right, but think about the pressure. I want to finish up on the Aaron Judge thing. We have just a few minutes left. So you think about wearing those Yankee pinstripes. Do you think that Mike Trout would be a different player? He would be out there more frequently, pain or no pain, if he was wearing Yankee pinstripes?
Ooh, wow. That's a tough question to answer. Because
How about Matt Joyce? Would Matt Joyce have been a little bit different if he was wearing Yankee pinstripes?
I think there's definitely something to pressure, and I don't think it serves everybody better. You know what I mean? Like sometimes like when you're tight and you're trying to do too much, I can tell you from personal experience, it did not go well for me. So the times that I was able to relax and like settle in and be comfortable, but still like, hey, you still got to have a little bit of that edge. For me, that was when I played the best. There are some guys that handle it really well. Obviously Judge, I don't know how the Yankees can let this guy go. I mean,
yeah.
I understand, like, hey, maybe he gets hurt more, but I mean, that's a major force in your lineup that has a huge impact on the entire franchise, not just a game.
Right.
We're talking about entire franchise. Trout, I think Trout would have been just as successful, but again, who knows? I don't know. Maybe the Yankees have better facilities to keep him, on the field better. Who knows?
Right. Could be better training. Who knows? Nobody knows. Listen, Matt, we've got. I want you to take 1 minute, and I want you to translate on the field success to in the business world success after baseball. What has to happen?
Yeah, that's funny. I've even thought about writing a book about that. I think there's a lot of similarities, and I think there's some differences, right? So similarities are probably things that most people would understand, where like, hey, I have to have a dream or a vision, right? I have to know what I'm going after. I have to have the hunger, right? I have to have the drive to want to succeed. And then from there, it's like a lot of it is, okay, what are the successful habits and routine that I can implement that's going to get me to where I want to go? And then it comes execution, right? Self-discipline. How do I stay disciplined and do the things that I don't want to do on a consistent basis that's going to ultimately lead to the result that I want. And that is, for me, was like, okay, that is success in a nutshell, right? Like we can expand and go much deeper on a lot of those topics.
Right. We'll have to bring you back for that. But listen, since we're running out of time, I want you to take maybe 30 seconds and tell everybody how to follow you, tell everybody about the fitness facilities and everything else that's going on in Matt Joyce's world. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. Obviously, just type in Matthew Joyce. And then Instagram on Joycer247. Twitter, I'm not as active. Wasn't the best platform for me. I got crushed when I was playing for Anaheim, so I had a sour taste when I was on Twitter. But mostly, I do Instagram. I mean, obviously, reach out to me there. Or Facebook. Usually I'll respond to you. The F-45s, we're really busy with the F-45s. Obviously have had 5 of those in the Tampa Bay area. And trying to get back around the game, man. Trying to get around, seeing how I can stay around baseball and continue, talking shop about baseball, talking shop about the game. And, something that I've done my whole entire life and still love. So, love to be around it. Well, there's a lot of avenues here, and of course, whether it's here on this program or within the clubhouse with another club, who knows? Maybe you're a front office guy. You never know. I mean, you've certainly seen it for all of the years that you've been involved in baseball. I think you know just a little bit about baseball. So who knows? Listen, managers, ownership, GMs, take notice. Matt Joyce may be able to help your club, if you know what I mean. All right, listen, Matt, I appreciate you coming on. And, of course, you're always welcome to come back to the circus because it's a circus and we prove it every day. You never know what the hell is going to happen here. And we really don't have a path. We just kind of go with it. You know what I mean? That's how we like it.
That's how we like it. All right, thanks for joining us today, Matt. And, of course, hopefully we'll see you again pretty soon. And, of course, maybe on your next trip to fabulous Las Vegas, we'll see you here as well. What do you think?
That's right. I always love to come see a good show. And, I think we made our own good show today with the Sports Circus. So
all right.
Do it again.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, folks. A big thanks for Matt Joyce joining us today. 15 years in the league, an all-star. We'll give him another round of applause just because we can. And, of course, look, make sure you check out those F-45s. And real quick, what's the website for F-45 over there for your facilities? Real quick.
Yeah, I mean, we have 5 different ones. So just type in F-45 Tampa and the closest one, obviously the closest one to you will pop up. And, hey, man, they're all over the world now. So go find out your local studio.
All right, that's good stuff. Matt Joyce, thanks for joining us today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you in about 23 hours right here on the Sports Circus. Until then, so long, everyone.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you start up with capital, business strategy, sales, and marketing, and establish your company with a physical location or an online presence on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea. Then American Business Trust can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com. Or call them at 657-600-1876. That's American Business Trust Company. 657-600-1876. Call them today. They'll help your business right away. That's American Business Trust Company. Online at abtrustco.com. American Business Trust Company.